This meeting of the Committee on Governmental Accountability is now in session. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Esslinger.
Here.
Esslinger. Brown. Beck. Black. Crawford. Mosley. Trent. We have established quorum.
Okay. Okay, so I move that we go into executive session. Do I have a second? Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are in executive session. I move that we bring Senate Bill 1248 before the committee. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. The bill is before the committee. I have a Senate committee substitute, and I move that we adopt the Senate committee substitute for Senate Bill 1248. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. So the Senate committee substitute for this particular bill differs in only one way, and that is that it includes physician assistants and basically just persons that are licensed within the sections 19.0.001 to 19.0.245, which is basically just all of the personnel that is involved in ambulance, EMT, anything before the hospital. And the reason that the physician assistant piece was added into this sub was because at the time that the original statute was created, the physician assistant was just not a position. So we're just making the whole community that attends to folks whole, so they all have the same opportunity. So, so discussion on the adoption of the substitute. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the Senate committee substitute say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. You have adopted the Senate committee substitute. I now move that we do pass Senate committee substitute for Senate Bill 1248. Do I have a second? Thank you. Any further discussion on the do pass motion? Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Esslinger.
Aye.
Brown. Beck. Black. Crawford. Mosley. Trent.
With a vote of 4-1, we have voted do pass on Senate committee substitute 1248. Sorry. I now make a motion that we move out of executive session and resume our regular hearing. Do I have a second? Thank you. I have a second. All those in favor? We have resumed our regular meeting. Now, we actually have 3 bills to be heard today, and we're going to start with House Bill 2111. Okay, and so Representative Christofanelli, begin when you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Phil Christofanelli from the 104th District.
You may turn your mic on or talk a little bit closer.
On.
That mic is
closer.
really, yeah, thank you.
Phil Christofanelli from the 104th District here to present House Bill 2111, which I believe is a bill this committee has already heard and passed in its Senate form, carried by Senator Fitzwater. This is a bill to modify the powers of the state auditor's office. If the auditor has evidence of improper governmental activity, right now he has 2 paths in order to perform an audit, which is what we ask our auditor to do. One of those paths is to be invited in by the governing body of the entity that is suspected of the improper government activity. As you may be unsurprised to learn, this very rarely happens. And then the second path is to engage in a somewhat complicated and time-consuming and expensive petition campaign where the voters gather a sufficient number of signatures that would authorize the auditor to complete an audit. This, I do not believe, is in the best interest of government accountability and taxpayer responsibility. Because, if we have an auditor that has credible evidence of improper government activity, we want an audit to clear the air. And maybe it's the case that the government entity didn't do anything wrong at all. The audit has an opportunity to demonstrate that. But if there is something inappropriate that happened, we want to make sure that those people are held accountable. And I believe that the current blockades to performing those audits result in many improper activities going unaccounted for. And so that's what the heart of this bill does. It also does a couple of other little things. There is a duplicative audit requirement as it relates to a couple of insurance funds. The state auditor does a biannual audit of all those funds already. There's no need to audit them twice, and so he's asked to remove that duplicative audit requirement in the insurance funds. It also ensures that whistleblowers to the auditor's office cannot have their complaints exposed under our sunshine law in order to protect the identity of the whistleblower and encourage the free flow of communication where people believe that improper activities have occurred. So that's what the bill does. It's received wide bipartisan support throughout the process. I believe it passed the House floor unanimously, passed committee unanimously, and I believe it passed this committee unanimously in its Senate form. So happy to entertain any questions. Otherwise, I will return to voting on the budget.
I do understand that you have that to go to, so you'll be leaving the chamber. So is there any questions for the senator? I mean, for the representative?
Working on it.
You seem so senatorial. I don't know. Are there any questions for our representative? Seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so if there was anybody who would like to testify in favor of, please come forward.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Brandon Alexander, Chief of Staff and State Auditor. Appreciate the representative bringing this before you for your consideration. Appreciate Senator Fitzwater bringing it before you a couple weeks ago as well. Appreciate your support a couple weeks ago. Just to build on a couple of things that the representative said. Under the current scenario, there's more time that bad actions can transpire when we have to wait for the governing body of a local political subdivision to either welcome us in or a petition to be circulated. So there's more time that those actions can go on. But we do see when there's a change in a governing body, requests come in to conduct audits of the previous occupants of those office to kind of clear the air. But as I said previously, you know, that's more exposure and more time that bad actions can go on. And as the representative said, if we have credible evidence, we go in under the new provisions and conduct an audit. We might find that what looked to be nefarious is not nefarious, and we can clear the air with the audit process as well. With that being said, happy to entertain any questions that you might have. Otherwise, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you, sir. Do we have additional folks who would like to testify in favor of? Do we have any that would like to testify in opposition to? Is everybody here to testify for informational purposes only? Seeing none. So that will close that particular hearing on 12/2/11/2111. Do you have any, I guess since the Senator, he's gone, so closing remarks we don't have. So let's move on to House Committee Sub-House Bill Substitute 2322 and 1774. Please come forward and begin when you are ready. Representative Farnan, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me come here today.
Sure.
I'm Jeff Farnan. I represent District 1, which is the extreme northwest part of the state. I'm here today to talk to you about House Bill 2322 and 1774. This is a workforce development bill that deals with how we license embalmers and funeral directors. This bill offers another option to become a funeral director or an embalmer through an apprenticeship program instead of doing it the traditional way of going to school. The apprenticeship would have a time period to learn all the requirements set forth in the bill. If a student doesn't complete the apprenticeship requirement, they must start over and go back through the process again. Both funeral directors and embalmers would have to complete all the requirements, pass all applicable tests, including state and national boards. So with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for our representative? Seeing none, so we will go on to anybody who would like to testify in favor of. Please come forward. Good morning.
Don Otto, I am the Executive Director and General Counsel of the Missouri Funeral Directors and Embalmers Association. I would just wish to point out that this is, with the exception of some formatting things that happened on the House side, this is identical to Senate Bill 1052, which was passed out of this committee on February 22nd. So we would gratefully like to have this one pass out as well. So hopefully we get a chance to get this done and get more people working.
Wonderful. Do we have any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to testify in favor of? Seeing none. Is there anybody who'd like to testify in opposition to? Seeing none. Informational purposes only? None? Do you have any closing remarks? Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to move on to Senate Bill 1382. Senator Washington. There she is. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, committee. And can you hear me?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. And thank you, Madam Chair, for hearing this today. This is a real basic bill. It is an update from the original community paramedic law from 10 years ago. In Missouri, we have about 15 ambulance services with community paramedic programs, and that's grown just in the last 5 years from 6 to 15. We have areas in KC with the Kansas City Fire Department, St. Charles County, St. Louis County, Washington County, and Carroll County. So this is both rural, suburban, and an urban concern. The programs explained by the partnerships have evolved between the ambulance services and FQHCs, our rural hospitals, and our public health agencies. So what we'd like to do with this law is we didn't really know in 2014 how our paramedics would function and how they would fit into our total healthcare system. So the original law had restrictions for our ambulance services to limit the community paramedics to only function within the boundaries of the ambulance services. And as we know, our healthcare system in Missouri is dwindling with respect to resources. So now what we're asking is to eliminate those artificial barriers that will inhibit the proper development of the relationships between ambulance services, FQHCs, and the hospitals to allow community paramedics to be able to work not just with the local ambulance services, but also with other entities to provide additional services. I know recently, last fall, I was in the hospital, and I was so elated. I had a community paramedic in the hospital that actually helped me more because there was a shortage of nurses. And the paramedic was able to analyze me, help me, and I actually got to a room, got put in a room faster than when you normally go to the emergency room. So they are very, very valuable. It'll allow Department of Health and Senior Services to get some minimum standards for our ambulance services, which would offer a full community paramedic program. We do have some at some of our community colleges, but this would be able to expand that education because right now we don't have any, the ambulance services don't have a minimum requirement, and we need to do that. So we'd like to have this go ahead and pass. It's been supported by the State EMS Advisory Council, the EMS Association, and the Missouri Ambulance Association. And this is just something that would be another tool in the toolbox to help with providing health services to our communities. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Do we have any questions for us, Senator? Nice job. Thank you. We would like to have anybody testify for, in support of. Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Members of the committee, my name is Brent Hemphill. I'm here on behalf of the Missouri Ambulance Association. Senator Washington did an outstanding job of testifying on what we are attempting to do in this legislation. I just want to, in the House, we had the same hearing, and there was a little confusion about what a community paramedic is. Don't think about a paramedic on an ambulance. These are paramedics who are essentially in a vehicle who take over a certain population. So if you know anything about EMS, 90% of the costs are borne by 10% of the people. The folks in the EMS world know who calls 911 on a frequent basis. The attempt here is to proactively go meet with the folks who are the high utilizers and make sure they're taking their insulin, taking their other meds to keep them from calling 911, thereby going to the hospital and going through this cycle of repeat going back to the ER over and over and over again, which is a huge cost saver for the state of Missouri. And so we want to encourage and update it and bring some minimum standards for the community paramedic, and that's what this bill is attempting to do.
Thank you. Question? Senator Crawford.
To inquire.
Yes.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you for the clarification. So maybe this is for the bill sponsor too. So we have how many of these now?
15.
15. Are they in the cities mainly, or are they out in the rural areas as well? Just curious.
All over. So if I could give you the reason the bill is drafted the way it is, let's take, for example, Cox in Springfield. They may have folks that they discharge from their hospital that are all over your district. And so they aren't relatively isolated to the city of Springfield. They're in Dallas County, Polk County, Stone County. And so a community paramedic, which Cox has, and they run one of the best, they would have a group of community paramedics that would go out and proactively meet those folks that have been discharged, just to make sure that they're being taken care of and they're staying necessary within their treatment, so they don't call 911 again. So they're all over the state, Senator.
So just to clarify, is it just after they've been discharged, or can they you can send these people out just when they call in? Like
No,
when they call 911, can they come out or no?
So we have a program with MoHealthNet, and if you ask that division, they know who calls.
And there are a bunch of them that.
So essentially, they'll say, we have a population of folks that we want to work with the community paramedic industry, which we are doing currently. We will actually hand them that population because we know who they are, to try to proactively before they ever call, because we already know they've called 911 for a variety of reasons, and I don't want to get into specifics of that, but
I know what you're
trying
saying.
to be appropriate use of tax dollars, appropriate delivery of health care, and not be wasteful in the healthcare services that they're receiving.
I guess I wasn't really familiar. I just don't remember this program, but it sounds like a good one, because it sounds like it would head off some of the frequent flyers, if you will, that go to the emergency room.
It has been, we want to expand it and encourage it to continue, but we don't force ambulance districts or fire districts to get into this. We're doing it already in some ways. We are wanting to actually create a model where we can get some compensation to encourage it, because we do believe it does save on the back end in higher healthcare costs.
I would think that it would be a big savings. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Any other questions for the senator? For the witness? Everybody's a senator this morning. Good morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, Trent Ford, a registered lobbyist for the Ambulance District Association of Missouri. I want to thank.
Two? Seeing none. For informational purposes only? Seeing none. Do you have any closing remarks, Senator?
Pass my bill. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so now just make I think we're done. Okay, so now we have no further business before this committee. I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Second, all in favor say aye. And we are adjourned.